So good morning. I thought this morning what I should do is tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you one of the best kept secrets on campus here in Boulder and around the country. That secret is that it turns out that college students are much more conservative than you might think. Now, I don't mean in regards to their politics or their attitudes towards social issues. Instead, what I mean as young adults, even in the most non-demic of times, the ground under their feet is moving. Right? Everything is changing. They're living on their own for the first time. They're navigating new challenges like making friends from scratch or doing laundry or feeding themselves. And in this unstable space, students gravitate towards and latch onto traditions. And when they're able to, they tie their boat to something secure and they'll bet their whole life on it. And so they are conservative, trust me. They're conservative in the sense that if you are a campus pastor and foolish enough to change something that they have determined is a tradition, you will be run out of town. Over the years, we've tried to take advantage of this dynamic and establish our own traditions that students can latch onto. Right? You all have hosted student preachers. That's become a rite of passage that our students look forward to. There's this ascending ritual we do where students walk through the waters of the font, and seniors spend their whole college careers looking forward to the Tuesday night when they'll be able to offer their wisdom at an early fall program that we call What I Wish I Knew When I Was a Freshman. But a budding tradition, a new tradition for us over the past couple years, has been the Fall Leadership Retreat. It traditionally happens in August before students move back into the dorms. And we had a tradition about how this retreat would begin that I want you to know is based completely on scientific research, on leadership development, and was in no way begun because of my lack of preparation. Okay, this was all thought out. It was not because I was not prepared. So traditionally how the retreat would begin is that students would show up at St. Aidan's and they're all excited. They haven't seen each other all summer. And so we load up into a van, eager to get up into the mountains to begin our weekend retreat. And I drive that van all the way to the bottom of the hill to Safeway, where we stop. And students pile out of the van and they receive their instructions from Megan and I. We tell them, we're going to be living together this weekend and you will likely want to eat food. You have 1 hour and a budget to buy all the food that we, please include Megan and I in your calculations, are going to need this weekend. And it actually works pretty good. You know, students immediately start off with some meal planning. They start working together to figure out what everyone's dietary requirements and preferences are. And most years, it is a great start to our year. That is, unless you forget the part where you give them a budget. And let's just say, hypothetically, 1 year, you didn't do it. Hypothetically, let's say the last time we did this retreat, you forgot to give them a budget. And hypothetically, let me say that based on the work students did raiding the Safeway that year, they definitely will not go hungry, though they might bankrupt our ministry. All of this is an incredibly circuitous way of acknowledging that when you're faced with anything from a weekend to 6 months to 40 years in a wilderness, it is a perfectly human concern to worry about whether you will have enough food or not. And so today I'm a little more sympathetic to what the NRSV calls the complaining of the people of Israel. They are in the wilderness. They don't know where their next meal will come from, and they are hungry. And so in response to their petitions, God gives the most curious of graces, manna, or what is this? They're hungry, they don't have food, but it's food, it's a gift. but it's not necessarily a perfect solution to their problem. It's not the pots of meat back in Egypt. It's not overflowing grocery carts filled with both double and single stuff Oreos in both mint and regular cream flavors. It's this flaky bread stuff that appears like dew in the morning. We don't get reviews, right? The Israelites do not rave in the Bible about the flavor profile of manna, but it is enough. It's enough to get them through the day. Manna is really, it's kind of like Spam without the shelf life. This year, you may have noticed, it seems that there is not much stable. The traditions that we've worked to build for students have all been washed away. There was no leadership retreat in the fall. There were no Godspeed rituals in the spring. And first, I just want to say that despite the stress of both my wife and I working at home while parenting and or teaching our child, I do not envy students. Since March, the markers that have defined their lives, that set out the course of their lives, have mostly disappeared. And after being socially starved for months, they were told to come back to Boulder and not to gather. And they've had to navigate all of this with frontal lobes, the portion of their brains responsible for impulse control and critical thinking that have not yet fully formed. But we here at St. Aidan's with Lutheran Campus Ministry have done what we can to adapt to the situation, to be a dependable source of support for students. You likely know that the main thing we do at Bread+Belonging is our Tuesday night dinner and program. And this fall, we've been able to keep that going on Tuesday nights. With food pre-portioned into to-go containers and contact tracing and social distancing and more, we've gathered for dinners on Tuesday nights outside on the green, and it's been pleasant and heartwarming, though you might recall that it snowed several inches a couple Tuesdays ago, and on that night we had to adjust and do our drive or walk through dinner served from underneath the awnings there in the chapel garden. But a quick story about one of those first Tuesday nights. See, all summer, Megan, Mary Kate, and I met all the time to come up with lots of hypothetical plans for how we were going to do something. And so when it finally became clear that we were going to host meals on Tuesday nights outside, we worked hard to try to create a safe space. We have and had signs everywhere. There have been chalk arrows by the barbecue. We carefully arranged all the picnic tables, especially early on, to ensure maximum shade and maximum social distancing. And I even printed up these signs that I was kind of proud of that said that we were going to tape, that we did. We taped to the picnic tables that said, this table is for 2 people. I had the 2 really big, and I had another sign that said, this table is for 1 people. And so we worked for hours before the first dinners, taping the signs. It felt like a lot of work to give away some food, but that's what ministry was calling us to do that day. And so we taped these things all over the place. We had all the tables spread out. Reflecting back, perhaps some of the tables were spread so far away that they were very sad looking and lonely. But then this remarkable thing happened. After we'd done all that work, students showed up. They respected all of our rules and guidelines. And they respectfully picked up their boxes of food from the barbecue. And then they walked right past all of those tables. And they took their food and they sat on the ground. And they made this large circle across the green at St. Aidan's. Everyone was distanced. But they refused to sit at the tables because they wanted to see one another. They wanted to reconnect with the community that is their source of support in uncertain times. And the conversation that night did not change the course of world affairs, but it was beautiful, despite our wasted efforts. Now, you might have seen in the news that the powers that be across the street have issued a 14-day stay-at-home order for all CU students in the city of Boulder. And I don't know if the students who really need to heed this order will, but I do know that most of our students and in our community will, and we will. So this Tuesday night and next Tuesday night, students will not be gathering on the green at St. Aidan's. But do not worry, we have a plan and we need your help. I'm here today to introduce Adopt a Student dinners. So this Tuesday night, students cannot come to us, but we can go to students. So our plan this week and next is to deliver a dinner to any student who wants one. So we are looking for volunteers to make dinner this Tuesday and next for 1 to 5 students. Just contact myself or Megan, and we'll assign you a student or a pair of roommates or a small house of students that you can make like lasagna for. And we'll give you the number of students. We'll give you their dietary requirements. In step 2, you prepare the meal. Step 3, you can either deliver that meal to students yourself on Tuesday, or you can drop it off with us at St. Aidan's on Tuesday evening or afternoon, and we will deliver it. Another perfectly acceptable option is to order food for the students from a restaurant and just have it delivered. If you're anything like me, you've had more than your fair share of takeout over the past 6 months, and I bet you have some great takeout ideas. So again, sign up. Let me know, email Megan, myself, or email Logan in the office, and she'll get you connected to us, and you can help us make manna fall from heaven for at least one night. One other item that you can help us with, while students are stuck at home for the next 2 weeks, we are going to be assembling and delivering care packages. So look for details in the email this week about what you can donate to put into our care packages. A quick preview is that we'll be looking for each care package will have one item that is soft or fuzzy, one item that smells good, one item that is warm, one item that is sweet, a creative item, a silly item, and then perhaps most importantly, a supportive personal note from one of you all. So we'll be looking again to collect those things, to get into boxes to deliver to students over the next couple of weeks. And so thank you for that. I do want to say that these efforts to deliver one meal to one student on a Tuesday night, or to deliver a box of fuzzy treats, not fuzzy treats. Please do not deliver any fuzzy treats. Something warm, our care packages. Delivery of a care package. These things will not change the course of world history. I do not imagine. But I'd like to go back to that manna that found its way to the Israelites in the wilderness. You know, it wasn't perfect. Every day they had to go to bed hoping that the next day the manna would find them again. Wasn't perfect, but it was enough. It was enough to get the Israelites through the day and eventually to get them through the wilderness. And so much of what we find ourselves doing these days, delivering meals to students or going to church on computers or teaching preschool to a 4-year-old while working full-time, it is not perfect. But the promise this morning, the promise always, is that it is enough to get us through this day, and by the grace of God, to get us through the wilderness. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Zach. Zach, just a couple questions. How many students are we needing to feed? And can one person like make 3 or 4 or 800 meals or whatever? Wait, you're muted.
There we go. So it is a little bit of a complicated math problem. We are working right now with students to get folks signed up. I expect that this Tuesday we'll have around 20 or so meals to be delivered. Likely the math will be messy, and I expect due to the generosity of all the good folks who are connected to our community. We'll have more offers for dinner hosts than students as we get started. But probably looking at around 20 or so student meals to deliver each Tuesday for the next 2 weeks. I'm also not a particular optimist, so I imagine we might be in this mode of operation more than once this semester as well.
Okay. Thanks, Pastor Zach.
Thank you all.
Yeah. All right. That was the homily. So I have some announcements. If you